Jaco Borda was working on his truck in his quiet neighborhood in suburban Maryland when he noticed a group of teenagers walk by.
They start putting hoodies on. I was like, I felt something is gonna happen.
Surveillance video from the Marine veteran's home security camera shows one of the teens pull a gun and stick it in Borda's face.
I told him I raised my hands up and the keys are in, the car is on. And he saw my phone. He was like, give me your phone too.
But then his hand-to-hand military combat training kicked in.
It was that split moment when he moved his hand from my head to the side of my head. That's when I grab him and pull it my way.
You can see Borda wrestling the teen with the gun to the ground. His brother rushes in to help. Listen as the gun fires during the struggle. In the midst of the melee, the teen's gun went off, but fortunately.
What's up, family? Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and check this out, because today we're talking about a story out of Oxon Hill, Maryland that you need to hear. I promise you, by the time we are done breaking this down, you're going to have a lot of thoughts. Picture this. It's a regular afternoon. A man is outside working on his truck in his own driveway, minding his business, not bothering anybody. And then 4 teenagers come walking by, menaces to society. Now, here's the thing that stood out immediately. It is the middle of summer. It's not even, it's the beginning of summer, actually. We ain't even going to say middle. I guess middle, beginning, summer's short. By the time it hits July, August, end of July, mid-July, August, that's the middle. But anyway, not to get off subject or attention, 3 of these kids have hoodies on. Not one, 3. Like 3 Stooges. And the moment this man saw them start pulling those hoods up, something shifted in them. It's no different when they wear the ski masks, which been going on since COVID, that they abuse and trying to use as an actual physical medical mask, which we know isn't, which I feel as though need to be banned countrywide. But his gut told him something was wrong before a single word was even spoken. And family, that instant was right. And we're going to break down this whole thing down. We're going to break this whole thing down today. What happened, what it means, who's accountable, and why this story is bigger than one driveway in one neighborhood in Maryland. And we're going to look at the different perspectives, and then I'll give you my thoughts. So with no further ado, let's get into it.
Tonight, a Marine veteran speaking to Fox 5 after he says a group of teenagers tried to steal his truck at gunpoint.
The would-be carjackers even fired a shot before the man was able to disarm them. The confrontation was caught on camera. It is our big story tonight here at 10 o'clock. Shamari Stone's live at Oxon Hill tonight with our top story.
Well, tonight, the 4 suspects are in jail, and this former Marine says that he is fortunate to be alive. Now, people in this Oxon Hill community says that they picked the wrong person to allegedly try and rob. Now, during the struggle, the shot was fired, and I want to bring you a little closer here on Fox 5. We bring you closer to the scene. You can look right here. This is the bullet hole where that bullet went right through here. Why is this significant? Because this Marine veteran has children. A child could have been sitting right here in the back seat. That video could have traveled, hitting the child. And plus, he has his 4-legged friend right here. And this is Sky. Sky, as you can see right here, is usually sitting in the back seat right over here. So he's happy that Sky, his children, his brother, the Marine veteran are all okay. Now let's show you that surveillance video.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Surveillance video showing Jaco Borda working on his pickup truck near Oxon Hill High School Wednesday around 4:45 in the evening. Now take a look at the 4 teens walking near him on the sidewalk, one wearing a backpack and 3 others all dressed in hooded sweatshirts. He says they demand his car keys, phone, and other valuables. The teen dressed in red, white, and blue pulls out a gun and points it directly at Borda's head, with the other 3 suspects surrounding them. The teen becomes distracted. In a split second, Borda fights back to disarm the teen. Borda's brother runs up to help, and listen, the gun fires during the struggle. Fortunately, no one is shot, the bullet hitting Borda's truck, and then one of the suspects tries to jump in, but Borda's brother turns around fighting back, grabbing that teen, and they hold the suspects down until Prince George's County Police arrive. Meanwhile, you can see Sky, their dog, checking on his owners to make sure they're okay. Officers arrested all 4 suspects. You're now going to hear from Jaco Borda.
How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling grateful. I'm still here, safe, with my family.
And how were you able to disarm the teens? Tell us about that.
It took me just 1 split second. We went to training for the Marines, and that came right on the moment.
What should happen to these suspects, and do you hold their parents accountable?
I hold the parents accountable because they're still minors, but I do count. They should be more accountable for it, because I mean they did it. They knew whatever they're doing.
You're now looking at a live picture here. Mr. Borda says it's going to take some time to fix his truck. It's going to cost around $2,000 because he says the car insurance company will not cover it. As for Sky, well, he's again happy that Sky is okay. Now, if you have any information, additional information about what happened out here, call the Prince George's County.
That's unfortunate, man. See, people just trying to live their lives, take care of their loved ones, take care of their kids, work on his truck, just doing what everyday Americans do. And to tolerate this as an American taxpayer and citizen, and to pay car insurance, and they say they won't cover it, and he got surveillance proof. This shows you that makes you question what is the point of insurance sometimes, man. So frustrating. But the man in this story, Jacob Bedoro, a Marine veteran, thank goodness for his service. Thank God for his service and all that he done for this country, and him being alive and everyone else being alive. And also, it could have been worse. You know what I'm saying? That gun could have pierced through. The reporter didn't mention it, but it could have pierced through his through his gas tank. But he's out there in their Oxon Hill High School working on his pickup truck Wednesday around 4:45 in the afternoon, broad daylight. Like these menaces, they don't care, man. Not midnight, not some back alley, broad daylight in front of his own home. Surveillance footage from his home security camera caught the whole thing when you watch it. It's clear from the jump that something is off. 4 teenagers come walking up on the sidewalk near him. A grown man at that. Where's the respect for adults anymore? Parents, man, and this is just what I believe. I get he's trying to give some grace and say, the teenagers should be the one held accountable at most. The parents should be, but the teenagers at most because they did it. But you should know where your kid is at all times. I believe that parents should know where their kids are going. When I was growing up, being a minor, you couldn't leave the front porch. You had to stay in the peripheral where my parents knew and seen me and my grandparents, not just walking off, diddy-dollying, because we know kids follow other kids. Some kids make, how that saying goes, make the evil things good and the good things evil. And kids can naturally be followers because they want to be down. They want to be seeming cool. We all been there. I'm 27 years old. I've been there. I haven't done nothing this extreme. Had some home training. Like I said, I had to be in sight. If I couldn't be in sight in front of my parents and be in the front porch and play in the front lawn, then I'm coming in. So, it should be back to restoring order where you need to be knowing where your minor child is at all times and seeing them. And if you can't, obviously make sure they got some home training and not be walking it up on grown folks minding their business and doing their thing. And they obviously, because it had to be a pattern before, or as a parent just being involved, you'll start seeing when your kid goes down, the wrong track, right? Being around a group of bad friends, because we got to have the best interest of our children in controlled environments and guiding them. Not saying they don't have some freedom because they got to learn from their mistakes, but with freedom comes responsibility as well. And I know my parent hat is on right now because I have a 6-year-old young man myself, but it's just a simple fact that I believe parents should be locked up as well with the child. I bet you it won't happen again. Something has to give, man. These teen takeovers countrywide, enough is enough, right? And the way the law enforcement is in certain states, and this thing being countrywide at this point, is obviously showing that this is showing the next generation of encouraging enabling behavior, let alone degenerates to a certain extent, we could say, right, family? When is there going to be a stoppage to this? It has to be. So, back to the story. One of the kids have a backpack on, one of the teenagers out of the 4. 3 of them are wearing hooded sweatshirts, again, in the middle of the summer or beginning towards the middle of the summer, soon to be. Now, Border said in his own words that the moment he watched them start pulling those hoodies up over their heads, he felt it. Yeah, because why? Of course, looking like knuckleheads in the middle of a summer is hot. Why you got a hoodie on? Strange behavior, right? He knew that's not paranoia. Family, that's pattern recognition, right? Stereotypes exist for a reason. They actually help stop crimes. It's a good thing. That's situational awareness. That's a man who has been trained to read his environment and act accordingly, as any man should and all people should, man or woman. And those instances were about to matter more than he could have known in that moment. One of the teens, the one dressed in red, white, and blue, if you can believe that, pulled out a gun and stuck it directly at Jacob Border's face. Not to the side, not in the air, directly at his head. Border pushed his hands up, told the teens the keys were already in the car was already running, and the teen demanded his phone too. So now you got a loaded gun pointed at this man's head with 3 other teenagers surrounding him, and the only thing standing between Jacob Badoro and whatever came next was his training in a split second of opportunity. And that opportunity came, the teen got distracted for just a moment and moved the gun slightly away from Border's head, and that was it. That was the window. Border's hand-to-hand military combat training kicked in immediately. He grabbed the teen, pulled him, and wrestled him down to the ground. His brother ran out of the house to help, and during that struggle, the gun went off, a shot fired, and the bullet went straight through Border's truck. Now, I want you to stop and really think about that for a second. That bullet went through the truck. The dog named Sky, he has children. You already heard, a child could have been in the back seat. The dog could have been in the back seat. That bullet don't care who was aiming there. And it was only by the grace of God and the grace of just the miracle of that, all right, for those who are non-Christians, that nobody got hit. But Border and his brother held all 4 of those suspects down on the ground until Prince George's County Police arrived and arrested every single one of them. And when a reporter asked Jacob Badoro how he was feeling afterward, he said, "I'm feeling grateful. I'm still here safe with my family." That's it. That's the man. Now, let's talk about what this actually means, because this is bigger than one driveway in Maryland. Now, Jacob Badoro was asked directly on camera, "Do you hold the parents accountable?" I told you guys my perspective, and he didn't hesitate. He said yes, because these are still minors. But in the same breath, he made it clear that those teens know exactly what they were doing. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because both of those things are true at the same time. You could be a minor and still understand that pointing a loaded gun at somebody's head is wrong. That's not a gray area. That is not a kid making a bad choice like sneaking out past curfew or failing a class. A loaded gun pointed directly at a man's face in broad daylight while 3 of your friends stand around watching. That is a decision. That is a choice. And the people who raise these kids have to answer for the environment that made that choice feel possible. Because children don't get bold like that in a vacuum. Something failed before that gun ever came out. And here's what this actually looks like in real life when we talk about the parents being on the hook. Border is now sitting on roughly $2,000 in truck repairs that his insurance company won't cover. $2,000. That bullet went through his property. His truck is damaged. And the man who was almost killed is now left holding the bill. And the parents of these kids should be financially responsible for that as well. Not just morally, not just in theory, on paper, legally. Write the check. Write the check. Because if there are no real consequences attached to what your child does in the street, then the lesson never fully lands. Explains why we got teen takeovers now. And we could keep having this same conversation. And that's where the bigger picture starts to come in, family. Think about it like this. According to what was reported, these teens already had a reputation in this neighborhood. This wasn't their first time making people feel unsafe in that area. That's part of the reason Border was already on alert when he saw them walking up. He wasn't randomly suspicious. He was reading a pattern that the neighbor already knew about. So now you have to ask yourself, if real consequences had been applied earlier, if the system wasn't handing out slaps on the wrist and sending kids right back to the same block, would they have felt comfortable walking up on a grown man in his driveway or in front of his house with the driveway, or, his spot he typically parks at in front of his house, parking spot, with a gun in the middle of the afternoon? When the cost of doing something wrong stays low, people keep doing it. That's not a political opinion. That's just how decisions get made. Look at Chicago, right? Criminals already know they're going to get locked up and come right out because they have a no cash bail law. To be fair, some people hear this and say, These are just kids. They made a mistake. They deserve grace. And I'm not here to tell you what to think. But from my perspective, grace and accountability are not opposites. You can want better for these young people and still demand that real consequences follow real choices. The parents carry responsibility here because the teens didn't build this boldness alone. Somebody somewhere let the guardrails come down, and now the Marine with a bullet hole in his truck is paying the price for it. And let's zoom out, family, because what happened in that in the front of his house doesn't exist by itself. It's connected to something much larger. And if we don't talk about the full picture, we're just skimming the surface. This happened in Prince George County, Maryland, a county that has been run by Democrat leadership for decades, and a county that has struggled with high crime for just as long. It's not a coincidence. When local government as a whole, whether Republican or Democrat, I don't really care for the party labels, keeps choosing policies that go easy on the people causing harm, they aren't protecting the community. They are protecting a cycle that destroys it. And the people who suffer most under that cycle aren't politicians. They're regular people working on their trucks in the front of their home in the driveway on a Wednesday afternoon. Now, here's where this really gets me. The mainstream media is not touching this story the way it should be. You're not getting to see this on primetime coverage, getting a full national conversation. No outrage cycle, no panel of experts dissecting what went wrong, none of that. You have to ask yourself, why? Because this is a man who had a loaded weapon, or a minor, and in this case, Jacob Border, a man who had a loaded weapon pointed at his skull in broad daylight and fought back with his bare hands and held those suspects until police arrived. That is a story. But the media picks and chooses what gets the spotlight. And when the facts don't match the preferred narrative, those stories tend to get quiet real fast. Think about it like this. If that gun had gone off differently, if Jacob Border hadn't had the training he had, if his brother hadn't come outside when he did, and there was no security camera footage, how does the story get told? You already know the answer. The Marine becomes the problem. The teens become the story. Somebody finds a yearbook photo, somebody talks about a potential of missed opportunities, and the actual victim gets buried under the weight of a narrative that had nothing to do with what really happened. But the footage exists, and the footage doesn't negotiate. That camera saw exactly what happened, and it told the truth that no spin can touch, and that's why surveillance footage and real accountability belong together in every conversation about community safety. At the root of all of this, though, is something that goes even deeper than policy. 4 teenagers were roaming the neighborhood in the middle of a school week afternoon with a loaded gun. Not one teenager, 4. This is beginning of summer. School is about to let out. This is a group activity that take coordination. We all know schools let out towards the beginning of the summer, and by the time they do get let out, towards the end of June, maybe closer towards the end. July, like I say, is the middle of the summer. And they're walking around like knuckleheads. And somewhere behind each one of those 4 kids is a home, a household, and an adult who was supposed to be in the picture. Broken families. That's where it starts. Most of the time. Speaking to the majority, not the minority. When fathers aren't present, when structure isn't there, when nobody is checking where these kids are at 4:45 on a Wednesday, the street fills that gap. And the street is not a good parent. Soft on crime politics absolutely makes this worse. There's no question about that. But the foundation of this problem is built inside the house before it ever shows up on a sidewalk. This is not a Prince George County problem. Showing up in the cities across this country, same pattern, different zip code, and it does not get fixed by making excuses or pretending the root causes aren't right there in plain sight. Real solutions require real honesty, and real honesty requires people to say what they actually see instead of what's comfortable to say. So let's land this, family. First things first, shout out to Jacob Border, and thank you for his service, or I used to say thanks for his service. His training, his instincts, his willingness to protect his life when that moment came, and his brother for running out that door without hesitation. That's what family looks like. That's what it means to stand together when things go sideways. Border said he's feeling grateful, and he should be, because it could have gone a completely different way, and it didn't. And the lesson I take from this is straightforward. When systems fail to protect people, people have to be ready to protect themselves. That's not extreme. That's not radical. That is the most basic form of common sense there is. You should not have to depend entirely on a response time in hopes it's fast enough. You should not be left defenseless in your own neighborhood in front of your own house because policies decided consequences weren't worth enforcing. At some point, preparation and awareness are the things that save your life. And Jacob Border is walking proof of that. And I'll leave you with this one from Proverbs chapter 28, verse 1. The wicked flee, though no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. This Marine did not run. He stood his ground. He protected what was his, and his family is safe because of it in the community. And that verse hits different when you watch that footage because you can see it in real time. Boldness rooted in preparation and purpose. And I want to hear from you, family. Drop it in the comments. What do you think should happen to these 4 teens? Do the parents share the blame? And do you believe Prince George's county is actually going to hold them accountable? Or is this another situation where the system lets people down? Let me know. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your post notifications so you never miss a breakdown. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate, family. And my heart goes with you, every single one of you watching this video, to your families, and for this country. We should pray and also want better, safer communities and continue to thrive and all enjoy our communities being productive citizens and continue to uplift the next generation while giving them wisdom and guiding them in the right direction. And I know, family, I'll leave it there. Peace.